Hello and welcome to another episode of match reviews. This time it's a post-match review, talking all about the latest Nottingham Forest game, which was Manchester City versus Nottingham Forest over at the Etihad, which took place yesterday afternoon in a rather interesting affair, one that you could say tale of two halves, and one where you could say it was probably one of Forest's worst games in terms of the first half, and then in the second half you can say actually that was one of Forest's best performances. So two very differing halves, two very differing approaches. And of course, a red card changing the second half a little bit and probably giving Forest a little bit more motivation. But actually, I would say there's a lot of positive points to look at from that Manchester City game, despite the fact that we lost 2-0 and we have dropped points. It's frustrating more than anything because it's one of those games where you did feel that you could maybe get a goal back in that second half. And I don't think we were going to draw. I don't think we were going to win. But I just wanted that consolidation goal. If you could have just had 2-1, would have looked really nice. And it feels like a bit of a medal when you play against City. I don't know why. But you should go and treat every game like it's one that you can win. And I suppose in that second half, for me, Forest did treat it like a game that they could win. And they made Man City really, really struggle. So don't just read the score. Don't just look at the stats. Actually watch the game and see what you thought, because the first half was awful. Second half, though, really, really positive. So I'm impressed. I'm happy. I think Steve Cooper made the right choices tactically with his substitutions. Obviously, the change in formations. I actually think that really worked. And people have criticised Cooper for his substitutions and the changes that he makes. But Forest just looks like a team at the moment that know they've got the right resources and can actually afford to go and move to three at the back. They moved to three at the back at the end of the game. Three at the back against Man City, one of the best, if not the best, attacking side in the league and in Europe. They've moved to three at the back against them and just gone for it. They've been brave, and to really put that kind of pressure on Man City and say, look, we're just going to go for it. We're just going to try and take you off here. Was really commendable. So they dealt with the pressure well. 2 early goals, frustrating, but to hold on to that for as long as they did and then almost score 1 or 2 goals themselves was really, really good. So I'm impressed. I'm happy. I'm feeling optimistic. I'm probably feeling a little bit more optimistic than other Premier League fans at the moment, maybe Chelsea and Sheffield United. But yeah, what a poor performance from those two today. Absolutely awful. Let me know if you've been watching other Premier League games today, but those two in particular, Chelsea and Sheffield United, so poor. Kel, I hope you're doing well. I'm all good, thank you. Good to be back on streams. Got another podcast coming this Wednesday at 3 p.m. So looking forward to that. It's going to be good. We're going to be talking a little bit about the next few fixtures, how we think Forest are going to do, and also some of the star players that Forest are seemingly in possession of. And we're going to be talking about Nicolas Dominguez very soon, actually, Gary. So do stick with me because I really, really like him. He seems to me like a Freuler that just wants to pass forward, which is weird because Freuler was always kind of passing back, make a move, passing back, just keep the ball. Whereas Dominguez, he's always in space. He's always creating opportunities for a player to make a pass. He's making his colleague's job a lot easier. And that's what you have to have in a midfielder like that. So, when I saw Sangare and Dominguez, and I thought, I'm not too sure, because Dominguez, he's starting. He's not had any game time in the Premier League before, and it's like that kind of worry. How's he going to do? He just slotted in. I think second half he was brilliant. First half he was okay, but second half he was really good. Really got into his element, and he looked like he handled the pressure well. He looked like he had a good vision. He was close when he chipped in that ball to, I think it was Elanga when he got the volley on. So he's got a good vision, passes forward, always in space. He's the ideal midfielder. And to think you've got him on a swap deal for a player that we didn't really need, utilise or want is brilliant. So it's good business by Forest. Even if there was money involved, even if you put £10 million on that swap deal, I'm convinced it was a very good, a very good deal because you're not going to face many opposition, if any opposition, that are better than Manchester City. So to go and have a debut like he did, fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Red Dad, I hope you're well. Good to see you good to see you at the Burnley game. I hope you're doing good. We're looking forward to seeing you soon. Evening, Tim. I hope you're doing good, my friend. Guys, if you are, looking to help us and help the streams, just make sure you drop a subscribe, like, comment, and if you can, share to any groups that you might be in, or if any of your friends are interested in Forest podcasts and don't know about this one yet, then let them know, because we're always going to be streaming every Sunday. You know how we do it, and then a podcast every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Many encouraging details to take away from yesterday's game. Absolutely. Let's talk about, we've spoken about Dominguez briefly, and I'm going to talk about another Argentinian now. Let's talk about Gonzalo Montiel, because I thought yesterday when he came on, some people were thinking, right, okay, so you're going to switch Aina over to the left. You're going to put, Montiel on the right. Is he going to do that well? Is he really? And I thought he was excellent. Sometimes he was the last man. Man City breaking away on counter-attacks. It was, 2v3 or 3v2 or whatever it was. And Montiel was always there. He stuck a foot in. He looked like a leader to me. He looked like someone that was clearly very passionate. And he played with real tenacity. I just really like the look of him. He just looked like a new player. And that's why it's so important that you don't judge a player based on their first game, which was Burnley. And yes, he didn't play particularly brilliantly, but he looked like he'd, settled in, like he was back at, Sevilla almost, with the way he played. He was getting forward really well, again, making himself available and tracking back perfectly. He watched his man perfectly. I think he looked really, really good. And for me, obviously, with Tavares being out, if Aurier is going to be right centre back again, then Montiel should be starting in the next game for Forest. That being said, I would personally like Aurier back on the right hand side. I don't mind him as a centre back. I do think he's a good centre back, but maybe it's an opportunity for one of the younger guys that's come in, maybe Murillo or Obama Mideli, to maybe get some game time, or Joe Worrell goes in. But for me, it's really hard to see where Worrell or McKenna or, and I hate to say it, even Ryan Yates gets in this team, because it's this, everyone has the sentimentality factor with them, because obviously it's not like we've been in the Premier League for the last 10 years and, we've had the odd academy lad come through that's done okay. These guys were pivotal in us going up to the Premier League, and we feel like we owe them something as fans. And we'll all feel it. Even the people that don't particularly like Joe Worrell or don't particularly like Ryan Yates, or, Scott McKenna, who I know he is an academy graduate, but he's been there and done brilliantly for, a good amount of time. It's really difficult to try and drop that sentimentality. But you have to, because you're in the Premier League and you can't afford to have it, and that's the thing, because for me, Sangare looked good yesterday. I know what you're saying about, we want the same from Sangare, like that kind of, not dream debut, because I suppose Montiel, it took a couple of games, but for me, Sangare looked like he was going to go forward a little bit more, Dominguez being more of your number 6, and Sangare kind of roaming a little bit more in that midfield, and trying to slow down any counter-attacks kind of midway through when they're happening. But, look, I think he played good. I think he made a lot of good tackles. He wasn't perfect, nor was anyone really. And I do still think he's adjusting, but it's a big improvement from the Burnley game, to be completely honest. And that's good when you're playing against an opposition like Man City. So, there's a big few games coming up, and there's the next 4 games. Realistically, I think Forest could be getting, 9-7 points. I think Liverpool's going to be really tough, unbeaten still, I think. But 7 to 9 points, I would really like to see Forest getting from these next 4. Brentford's, Crystal Palace, Liverpool, so, and I have missed one out, but it's so important that we, pick the best team, and, we give players time, because I don't think Sangare actually did anything wrong yesterday for me. But he just still looks like he's not quite up to speed with how English football is played. The Dutch game is a much slower build-up compared to that of the English one. So, I think he will do well, but you've just got to give him time. And, yesterday, an improvement from Burnley. Dominguez, brilliant, debut for him. Montiel, massive improvement from Burnley. Ola Aina, fantastic. Matt Turner did well, I thought. Matt Turner's not done anything wrong for me to be dropped yet, but I can see it coming at some point soon because they're going to want to give Vlachodimos some game time. So everyone had a good game. I felt yesterday. I thought Callum Hudson-Odoi was good when he came on. Elanga was, good when he came on. So I was really impressed. Really impressed. Let's have a look here. Davey, no worries, my friend. We're here till 8:30. It's only a short stream. But I want to try and... I don't want to just talk at you. I want to try and have a little bit of engagement with you and see what you're all thinking as well. We've got too much quality to be sentimental now. I think Yates, Worrell and McKenna will definitely have less game time this season. It's going to be hard to see where they break in. For me, Ryan Yates, it's going to be tough to see where he gets involved because out of the three, McKenna, Worrell and Yates, I'd say that Yates is the man that's more than likely, the most likely to get the most game time, because he is, he's a quality midfielder. He has a place in that team, and you saw it against Sheffield United at home, but I don't think it's in the first team now. I could not see it. If Dominguez keeps playing how he is and stays fit, and Cooper's going to, of course, give Sangare time to make that adjustment and to get into the form that Forest want him to be in, it's going to be tough. But that's the important part about football. There's competition. So who knows? Ryan Yates keeps working well in training, keeps proving himself when he gets the opportunity. He could just be back in the team and fighting for a first team place. That's what he'll be working on. So I like Yatesy, and I'm under no illusion that he'll be working his hardest to try and get back into the team. Glenn, evening. I hope you're doing well, Glenn. Good to see you, my friend. Dominguez was man of the match for us yesterday. Agree that Montiel had a much better game on that Monday. Really impressed going forward. Yeah, I agree. Tracking back Montiel was really good. Forest's problem for that second goal was the lack of tracking back. I don't know if it was Aina or Aurier, but to leave Haaland where he was, and as Cooper said in his interview, it was such a typical Man City goal that it was frustrating because there wasn't, as Cooper said, there wasn't really goals in that game where you think, fair enough, you're not going to save those, or fair enough, you couldn't stop that. Because the Kyle Walker run over on Man City's right-hand side, just to run into the box as quick as he could without a man tracking him at all, was because there's all that focus on the midfielders that are in front of them, not the overlapping fullbacks, if you will, that are making that run into the box. And someone as quick as Kyle Walker, you really have to be sharp. And Kyle Walker will just tear teams apart like that. And it was a brilliant run, in fairness. And the pass to Foden was pinpoint perfect. And the finish was immaculate. So, it was always going to be a goal, that. But the second one really frustrates me. To give Nunez that much time to make the chipped cross and for Haaland to then come and header it as easily as he did, it was just not the most fun thing to witness, because you just know you could have stopped that. But it's also good to know at the same time that Forest, there was 2 goals against City that you could have stopped. And then other than that, maybe a handful of opportunities and a sitter really that Haaland should have put away. But other than that, there was a lot of opportunities for Forest equally. Good goalkeeping from Edison, and maybe a lack of clinicality on the edge of the box for Forest is where we went wrong a little bit. Taking a bit too long on the ball, perhaps. But, again, I'll say it again, there is a lot of positives in that performance yesterday. And I'm for one, are really impressed. Of course, the next few games are, as I say, games that we should be winning, the likes of maybe Brentford at home. I say we should be winning. We don't have the divine right to be anyone in this league, because we're not a team like Man City yet, or if we ever do. But I do think we should be aiming to get a lot of points from these next few games. And, the next 4 games, I can't see us getting 12, but I'd like us to get over 7. It's a big ask. I do think so. And to get a few runs on the bounce. I don't know when the last time we did that was, but, we do want to be getting, a couple of wins at least within those next 4. And it's doable. It's doable. Brentford got beaten 3-1 by Everton. Crystal Palace, they've looked okay, but they look beatable. I'd say so. We can beat, we played them at the end of the last season and we weren't particularly focused because we just stayed up and we weren't really playing our best team. But, these are sides that we should be competing with, and we should be saying we're on the same standard, if not a little bit better than you in that kind of mid-table area, because we want to be pushing forward. We do want to be pushing forward, and we've done really well. We've done really well so far. To think that there was 10 games where we didn't get a single point last season, like this time last season, and we were just going into the World Cup with, I don't know, it might have been like 13, 14 points or something like that. Don't quote me on that, but we weren't doing particularly brilliant when we look back at it now, thinking we've got, we're kind of halfway there and we've only played 6 games or whatever. So, pretty much a point a game at the moment. Not too bad. About a point a game at the moment. So, we can be positive. I think you should all smile, because we've got so many good players available now. We've got players with potential that are coming through the ranks, but are still available to play in that first team. We've got players that perhaps might drop out of it, like we were saying about Yatesy and McKenna and Worrell, that might drop out of the starting 11s. And you wouldn't change them, would you? Really, for Bolly, you wouldn't take Bolly out for Worrell. I don't think you'd take McKenna out for Niakate. And Serge was really good at right centre back. So I know what people are saying when they say, okay, well, we love Yates and we love Worrell, because of course we do, but we also want to just win. That's what we want to do. And that defense yesterday was really good. And I was really impressed. I was really impressed. But we want to be picking up points. That's it for me, really. But let me know how you're all feeling. Because, as I say, this is a point in the season where you don't have to think about, okay, where are we going to be at the end of the season that much. I'd say after Christmas is kind of when you're starting to really think about it, when you reach that midway point. But so far, so good. And, we've played some tough opposition. We played United, obviously City now. We played Chelsea, beat them. We played Arsenal. And the only game out of those top 6 sides where we haven't got a goal is Man City. So, gutted, to be honest, that we didn't get a goal. But as I say, we played well against all of the top 6, and all of the top 6 we've played away, or those in the top 6 that we played so far. So considering how bad away we were last year and how we just completely switched off, losing 5-0 at the Emirates, 6-0 at the Etihad, conceding 2 goals at Stamford Bridge, even though it wasn't a brilliant game, to now going to the Emirates and almost getting an equaliser to make it 2-2, but it was a 2-1 loss. Going to United, scoring 2 early goals and losing 3-2. Now going to the Etihad, scoring, conceding 2 early goals, but then after that, controlling possession, having most of the shots, and being the better team for the second half. That's a different story altogether, and one that I think we can be really, really proud of. So there's always those nerves, and people always say, oh, but, I don't know, because you still lost. But positivity, as long as we treat the Crystal Palace game like we treated that second half against Man City, and we really go for it and be an attacking team, almost like the first 20 minutes against Burnley, because that was really good. But then we just seemed to stop after a while. So, if we can get that right and try and continue that attacking play, then we'll be a lethal side, because it's evident that Forest do have a good attacking caliber. They do have a very good attacking, setup when they want to. But you've just got to go for it. You've got to go for it. I've said it for a while. You've got to be brave. And Steve Cooper said actually yesterday, and the title of this stream, believe in yourselves. You've got to believe in yourselves, because at the end of the day, these players have what it takes to beat teams inside the top 6, to definitely to beat the teams around them, 100% to beat the teams below them, and it is, as you say, Cal, such a turnaround. It is such a turnaround. 5 points from the next 3 games. I personally would like more. Obviously, you take points, but you want to be getting a couple of wins, I think, because you've got Crystal Palace and Brentford. I'd like wins at both, if I'm being completely honest. It's going to be tough. Brentford is going to be tougher than people think, just because of the Everton loss that I mentioned earlier. Brentford is still going to be wanting to go for it. They've got good strikers, Visser and Mbuemo, and then Jensen in the midfield, and all the other players they've got, Ben Mee in defence, they've got such a good setup and a bit of a blip against Everton. So, yeah, the players have to believe in themselves. They've got to be confident, because for me, it looks like confidence is the issue when Forest go and play attacking, because it's like they go and play attacking and, they go for it. They play well like they did against Burnley to start with. And then after that, it was just like lose confidence, slow down, back in your shell, unconfident. And, it's about conquering that almost like a bit of a fear. So, but yeah, I've got all the confidence in the world that Forest can get quite a few points from these next few games. And we've played a lot of the, more difficult teams quite early on. So, and also played them away. So there's always that benefit. And we're hoping that, the crowds louden up a little bit at the City Ground and make it a real fortress again. But we're unbeaten at the City Ground for quite some time now in the Prem. So, so far, so good, I'd say, at home. Let me have a quick look at some of these. Next game is a must-win. Liverpool away is going to be another tough one, but you never know. Yeah, it's going to be, a very... it's going to be very tough. It's going to be very tough. And that's the thing. But against the top 6 teams, we beat Liverpool last season. Obviously, it was at home, and we came close at Anfield last season. So there's no reason why we can't go and give them another good game. And that was with a team that was starved of those resources that Steve Cooper so desperately wanted. So, Liverpool, of course, the second unbeaten. But we've got to go and give it to them like we gave it to City, in that second half, because it's not impossible to beat these big teams. You can catch teams off. And Pep Guardiola will probably be thinking, okay, did good, won 2-0. But he'll also be frustrated because he knows that his team were in a position where if Forest got a goal back, game changes completely. And, who knows? We could have gone and got an equaliser. So he'll be frustrated because he knows what City are capable of. And yesterday wasn't a great showing of that. But Steve Cooper will be frustrated with the first half performance and actually say second half, other than probably should have been a bit more clinical. We played well. Yates would have been in his element yesterday if he had played, of course. But are you going to take him out for Dominguez? I don't think so. I thought Dominguez was brilliant. I thought he was really, really good. He just looks like a player that will just go and win that ball back whenever he wants to. He's got a good level of physicality, aggression, real passion. And as you say, he's always wanting to get the ball. Give it to me. I want it. And that's what he does. So I was really impressed. In fact, one of the first things I said when we got in the car back home yesterday was, Dominguez is quite good, isn't he? He's quite good. He's quality, he is. Yeah, he's really good. Because that's what he is. He's a really good player. And, he will offer Forest a lot of something that they haven't really had for a while. And to think you've got Remo Freuler going the other way in this swap deal for Dominguez is just like such good business. Such good business. Let me have a look. See what people are saying. Get in touch. Let me know what you're thinking. I'm really sorry. It's been a really tiring day. I apologise for yawning. City's players will be dreading coming to ours. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if City will be dreading going anywhere because City are City. But, if the City ground is as loud as it usually is and we are how we were last year, then it'll be, it'll be a good game. It will be a good game. Mangala wasn't too bad, actually, I thought. For a couple, rash tackles from him. But he seems like a bit of a different player this season. He's a bit quicker, a little bit more lean. His playing style has changed a little bit. He's just running around everywhere. And he looks like he has more energy and a little bit more fitness. So, Cooper's obviously put his confidence in him and said, look, you're going to get a lot of game time. And Mangala's ran with that. And he's done quite well, actually, so far this season. So I'm impressed with him. I think he's a very good player. I've always rated him, technically. I think he's a fantastic player. He's got, good strength. He can hold the ball really well. He's got a good vision. Helps link the play really well. So him and Dominguez together looked quite nice. They look like a pairing that would work together quite well. Add Sangare into the mix, and you've got yourself a very good midfield there, especially if you're going for that 5 at the back, which arguably I'd say we look worse with. I think 3 at the back we look the best, really, but I wouldn't go 3 at the back against every team. I think this, the 4 at the back worked for me. yeah, and it was really good. So I would, yeah, I'd like to see Mangala getting more game time with Dominguez and Sangare because I like that three in midfield. But of course, eventually you're going to have Danilo coming back into the mix. Where will he play? Perhaps will Cooper go for those two attacking midfielders behind a striker, or there's so many different options formationally that Cooper could go for, which is the most exciting part. So if anybody's feeling a bit disheartened about losing yesterday, just remember it was to Man City, and also just remember that you've got a lot of good players back now. You've got Aurier back, who will be massive for us, massive. So I like Aurier. I'd give him a year extension as well. I thought I might as well mention that while I'm here. But that's basically my rundown of what I thought about that Man City game. And it wasn't an easy one. Of course, now, as I say, the first half really was a hard watch. It was a really hard watch. But the second half, that being said, Forest were a completely different team. And, attacking wise, you'd look at mid-table, wouldn't you? If you can go and give every team that kind of lethality that we gave towards Man City in terms of how we went forward, and how we tracked back even in that second half, that's a team that could be fighting for mid-table. But again, it is early days, of course, and Man City were down to 10 men, so I'm not going to dispute that, but I'm not going to do a match of the day. I'm going to credit Forest, and I'm going to say Forest played well in that second half, and Man City didn't. Of course, they lost Rodri, but they just didn't do enough, Man City, and Forest also didn't do enough to score, but boy, did they come close. Boy, did they come close. So I'm impressed. I'm happy, feeling optimistic. We were a good team. We've got a lot of depth now, a lot of quality in the first team. Dominguez coming in looks unreal. Montiel looks revitalised. Sangare looks like he knows what he needs to do and just needs a bit of confidence. So I'm looking forward to it. Let's all get behind the boys. It's going to be a big, big, big few weeks. I'm sorry for being inactive this week. I've been doing work experience. So I've really enjoyed that. BBC Radio Nottingham's amazing. And also, anyone that knows me will know that I absolutely love Colin Fray, and he is a Forest legend. I'm sure many of you love Colin Fray as well, because he is a certified Forest legend. And Dave Asprey was saying he thinks that actually we should have a place for Colin Fray in the Forest Museum when the new stand's built. And I agree. I think he's brilliant. And I got the brilliant opportunity to sit and chat with him for half an hour. And he was just someone that was just so easy to talk to. And, especially when it came to Forest, he, obviously very serious and loves his job and takes it very seriously, but also very light-hearted and a humorous person. So, I love talking to him. He's a bit of a legend, isn't he, at Forest? Just one of the best commentators around. So, but that's why I've been inactive this week. It's been early morning wake-ups, 4:30 in the morning, pretty much last 3 or 4 days. So, that's probably why I'm yawning. I'm probably still not, I'm probably still not caught up on my sleep because of the early wake-ups, but I've enjoyed it. So, I'm going to be, maybe documenting more of my work experience that I do in the future. But before I go, I do just want to say I am looking at player interviews at the moment. I've contacted quite a few players or former players, and looking forward to maybe getting them on. There might be a couple of commentators coming on because, of course, as much as I cover Forest content, I want to try and do some interviews just for maybe people that are in the same industry as me, and kind of get more tips from them while also providing a bit of entertainment from you from an interview. So if you've enjoyed this stream, subscribe, like, comment, and please share. I'm looking forward to seeing you all on Wednesday at 3 p.m. That's Wednesday, 3 p.m. for episode 3 of We All Follow the Forest podcast. So do stick around. The podcast will be getting rebranded the next time we have a stream. So next Sunday, there'll be new graphics and it will look a little bit different because I'll be doing some little techie things with it to make it a little bit more exciting. So this next screen you're about to see won't be the same as next week. But I just want to thank you all for joining me. Looking forward to seeing you all next week. I hope you take care. Have a brilliant week. Stay safe. And I'll see you all next week. Come on, you Reds. See you all soon.